Hey everyone, welcome back to Nourish and Thrive. You know I'm all about practical, everyday ways to improve your health. And today we're talking about one of my favorite organs, the brain. It's what makes us who we are, right? Our memories, our ability to learn, to connect with others, it all comes from this incredible organ. Now, you probably know that exercise and sleep are important for brain health. But did you know that some of the foods you eat every day could be silently damaging your brain? Seriously. Studies show that certain foods can contribute to memory loss, brain fog, and even increase your risk of dementia. The good news is, we can take control of our brain health. Once you know which foods to avoid, you can make simple swaps to keep your mind sharp and your memory strong. In this video, I'm going to break down the 5 worst foods for your brain and give you some delicious brain-boosting alternatives. Let's get started. Let's kick things off with the #1 culprit, processed sugar. You know I'm talking about those sugary drinks, candies, and processed snacks that many of us crave. They taste good in the moment, but trust me, they're doing a number on your brain. Here's the thing, our brains thrive on glucose for energy. But when you consume too much processed sugar, it's like hitting your brain with a sugar rush, followed by a crash. And over time, these sugar highs and lows can lead to something called chronic inflammation. Now, inflammation is our body's natural response to injury or infection. But when inflammation becomes chronic, lingering in the body long-term, it can actually damage healthy cells and tissues, including those in your brain. And studies have linked chronic inflammation in the brain to a whole host of problems, including memory loss and cognitive decline. But it gets worse. Research shows that high sugar consumption is associated with an increased risk of Alzheimer's disease, which is a type of dementia that affects memory, thinking, and behavior. So, how much sugar is too much? The American Heart Association recommends limiting added sugar to no more than 25 grams per day for women and 36 grams per day for men. And to put that into perspective, just 1 can of soda can easily exceed your daily limit. Now, I'm not saying you need to cut out sugar completely, but I am saying choose those sweet treats wisely. Instead of refined sugar, try natural alternatives like honey or fruit to satisfy your sweet tooth without harming your brain. Next up, we're tackling another brain-damaging culprit, artificial trans fats. You know, those sneaky fats that lurk in many processed foods. We're talking about things like margarine, packaged snacks, and a lot of fast food. Artificial trans fats are created through a process called hydrogenation, where liquid oils are turned into solid fats. And while this might improve the texture and shelf life of certain foods, it wreaks havoc on our health, especially our brain health. Here's why. Our brains are made up of about 60% fat, and those fats need to be the healthy kind to function properly. Artificial trans fats, on the other hand, are considered the unhealthiest type of fat you can consume. Think of it this way. If you were building a house, you wouldn't use cheap, flimsy materials for the foundation, right? You'd want to use strong, durable materials to ensure the house is stable and long-lasting. Well, the same goes for your brain. When you consume artificial trans fats, you're essentially providing your brain with those cheap, flimsy materials. And over time, this can compromise the structural integrity of your brain cells, leading to a decline in cognitive function. In fact, studies show that trans fats contribute to brain shrinkage and increase the risk of Alzheimer's disease. So, what can you do to protect your brain? It's simple. Read those food labels carefully and avoid anything that lists partially hydrogenated oil in the ingredients. And instead of processed fats, choose healthy fats like avocados, nuts, and extra virgin olive oil. These good fats provide your brain with the building blocks it needs to function optimally and protect against cognitive decline. All right, let's talk about a controversial one. Processed meats. I know those bacon cheeseburgers and hot dogs are calling your name. But trust me, when it comes to your brain health, processed meats are like kryptonite. We're talking about meats that have been preserved by smoking, curing, salting, or adding chemical preservatives. Think bacon, sausage, hot dogs, deli meats. You get the picture. Now, I'm not saying you can never enjoy a juicy burger again, but it's important to understand why processed meats are so detrimental to your brain. First off, they're loaded with nitrates and nitrites, which are added to preserve color and prevent bacterial growth. Sounds harmless enough, right? Well, here's the catch. When nitrates and nitrites are consumed, they can convert into compounds called nitrosamines in the body. And some nitrosamines have been classified as probable or possible human carcinogens. Not only that, processed meats are also high in saturated fat and cholesterol, which can contribute to heart disease. And what's bad for your heart is bad for your brain. After all, your brain relies on a steady supply of oxygen-rich blood to function properly. And finally, processed meats are often lacking in essential nutrients that are crucial for brain health, like omega-3 fatty acids and antioxidants. So, what's the bottom line? Limit your intake of processed meats and opt for lean, organic protein sources whenever possible. Think wild-caught fish, grass-fed beef, or plant-based protein alternatives like lentils, beans, and tofu. Your brain will thank you for it. Let's move on to a sneaky culprit: refined carbohydrates. I'm talking about those white bread, pastries, and sugary cereals that many of us start our day with. They might seem harmless, but these highly processed carbs can send your blood sugar on a roller coaster ride, leaving your brain feeling foggy and depleted. Here's why. Refined carbohydrates have been stripped of their fiber and nutrients during processing. And without that fiber to slow down digestion, they're quickly broken down into sugar in the body. This leads to a rapid spike in blood sugar, followed by an equally rapid crash. And these blood sugar fluctuations can wreak havoc on your brain. You see, your brain requires a constant supply of glucose to function optimally. But when your blood sugar levels are all over the place, your brain doesn't get the steady stream of energy it needs. This can lead to brain fog, fatigue, difficulty concentrating, and even mood swings. And over time, consistently high blood sugar levels can damage blood vessels, including those in your brain. This can impair blood flow to the brain, increasing your risk of cognitive decline and dementia. So how can you avoid these blood sugar roller coasters? It's simple. Choose complex carbohydrates over refined carbohydrates whenever possible. Complex carbs, like those found in whole grains, fruits, and vegetables, are digested more slowly, providing your brain with a steady stream of energy. Think quinoa, brown rice, oats, sweet potatoes, and lentils. These foods are not only good for your brain, but they're also packed with essential vitamins, minerals, and fiber to support overall health. And finally, let's talk about those seemingly harmless sugar substitutes, artificial sweeteners. You might think you're making the healthy choice by swapping out sugar for artificial sweeteners, but in reality, you could be doing your brain more harm than good. Artificial sweeteners are synthetic sugar substitutes that are often hundreds or even thousands of times sweeter than sugar. They're commonly found in diet drinks, sugar-free foods, and even some medications. Now, while artificial sweeteners may seem like a good way to reduce sugar intake, emerging research suggests that they may have negative impacts on brain health. For example, some studies have linked artificial sweeteners to an increased risk of stroke and dementia, and other research suggests that they may negatively affect neurotransmitters in the brain, potentially impacting mood, learning, and memory. One theory is that artificial sweeteners can interfere with the gut-brain axis, which is the complex communication system between your gut and your brain. You see, your gut is home to trillions of bacteria that play a crucial role in your overall health, including brain health. And when you consume artificial sweeteners, they can disrupt the balance of bacteria in your gut, potentially leading to inflammation and other health problems. So, what's the bottom line? While more research is needed to fully understand the long-term effects of artificial sweeteners on brain health, it's best to err on the side of caution and limit your intake. If you need to sweeten something, opt for natural alternatives like monk fruit, stevia, or raw honey in moderation. Remember, your brain is your most valuable asset, so it's worth protecting. So there you have it, 5 common foods that could be harming your brain. I know it can seem overwhelming, but remember, small changes can make a big difference. You don't have to overhaul your entire diet overnight. Start by gradually reducing your intake of these brain-damaging culprits and replacing them with brain-boosting alternatives. What are some easy swaps you can make today? Instead of that sugary soda, grab a refreshing glass of water with lemon or a cup of green tea. Swap out those processed snacks for a handful of nuts or some fresh fruit. And when you're craving something sweet, reach for a piece of dark chocolate or a small serving of berries with a dollop of Greek yogurt. Remember, your brain is your most valuable asset. By making simple, healthy choices, you can keep your mind sharp, your memory strong, and your brain healthy for years to come. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these brain-damaging foods are you going to cut back on first? Let me know in the comments below.